can also look at highlighted words. Please, it's a hand up. It's a hand up. Evans, let's hear you, please. Or it's a mistake? Okay, I think it is. Let's continue. Pardon?
Also, remember, you know, cover the show much.
It's like the whole class is mute.
Yes, I'm sure. Because we can't hear Madam again.
Please, can you hear me?
No, madam.
Hello?
No,
No,
Madam.
I hear
Can you
you.
hear me now?
Yes, Madam.
Oh,
No, yes, Madam.
okay. Okay, all right. So when you want to highlight certain words, we can just skim. Okay. Now let's look at the usefulness of skimming. Skimming is very useful when we want to preview a test. Preview a test in the sense that you want to get the general information. That is the major importance of skimming, the major usefulness of skimming, to get the general information or general idea or the gist of a test or a book. Okay. Another one is when we want to decide the relevance of a test. So you are reading a test, you are reading a course, maybe Com Skills 1. You've seen a book that is, you feel it is related to Com Skills, but you want to check whether it is really relevant to your course or not. So you can skim. You just glance through and then that's all. Sometimes too, skimming is useful when you want to revise an already read material. So you've read the material last year, last 2 years, but you know you cannot get the whole gist because it's been years and we've read a lot. Okay, so you want to go through, you can use skimming. All right, please, any question on skimming before we move on? Any question on skimming? Should I move on, please?
Yes, Madam.
Yes, madam.
Yes,
All right.
madam.
Okay, now let's also look at another technique, but before that, I've already told you, you can skim by reading just the introduction. So the essay here, the highlighted parts, we already know is the introduction. When you read this part alone, it can give you the gist. So for skimming, you can choose to read introduction and that is all. You can even choose to read conclusion and you understand the passage. Okay. All right. I think we've done this and we do not have time, so I'll just skip. Now let's go to scanning. I've already told you, skimming and scanning, they are all speed or fast reading. It means that you don't read like the way those in basic school read when they say Scanning is a good method of speed reading. No. As for skimming and scanning, they are fast reading. So that is why it is important, because we are adults. Okay. Now, when we scan, we want to locate a specific information. That is scanning. You know, for skimming, you want to get general gist, general idea. But for scanning, you are looking for a particular answer. You are looking for a particular name, a particular date in a test. So for scanning, that is what you are looking at. You are looking at, so before you scan, you have a particular idea in your head, a particular answer. Okay, that is what we know scanning to be, other than skim. So when we compare skimming and scanning, in terms of how speed, or in terms of speed, we can say that scanning is very, very fast, because you don't even read the whole paragraph. You are looking at the word. Okay. But for skimming, you read a bit. Okay. Now, let's look at what we should know before we scan, or the principles of scanning. The first thing that you should know is that you, as a reader, you should have an idea about the item you are looking for. So you are reading a text, or there is a text, and you want to look at maybe the name of a Nigerian president. Okay, that is the idea. You already know what you are looking for. So the moment you open the text, or you open the book, you know you are looking for a name. You know you are looking for maybe a date. Okay. The next principle is that the reader, you should focus on only one or two items. So you can't say, you, one person, you are looking at name of the president, the date he was born, where he comes from, when he got married. So four information at the same time, it is not really appropriate. So you should focus on one at a time, okay, or two at a time. Now, the third principle that you should also follow is the information that you are looking for should be a short one. When we scan, we don't really look at long paragraph or a whole sentence, 2, 3, 4 sentences. We normally focus on a short answer. For example, we are looking at maybe figures. You are looking for the number or something. You are looking for names. So these are short information that we look for when we scan. Now, the last principle is that when you are reading, or when you are scanning, you don't have to read the whole passage. I think we've discussed this. You can skim, which means that you can read a passage, but you don't read the entire passage to look for a particular word. So normally we just glance through, okay, and then identify the important information we are looking at. Okay, now let's continue. So I've already told you what scanning is and what we look for. We are looking at dates, names, keywords, or sometimes figures. Okay. And scanning is so important when we want to answer examination questions. So for that one, it is an essay that you are answering. And for answering these essays, you will need a word. So what word did so and so say when she found out that the mother is dead? Maybe the word in the passage is AJ. So you just look for the word, and that is the scanning. Okay. It is also important in dictionaries. We normally scan dictionaries a lot. You are looking for the word examination. You just flip through, go to E column, go to where X is, and you have your answer. Okay. All right. Now let's look at the difference between them. The major difference between skimming and scanning is that for skimming, you are looking for general information, or the gist, or what the entire passage or book is about. But for scanning, you are looking at a specific information. You want to locate a specific idea and not the general information that skimming seeks to do. Okay, they are both facts. So these are the major difference between skimming and scanning. Okay, all right. And also when we skim, we sometimes read a text but not into details. Okay, we read it but not into details. We don't pay attention to particular words. But when we scan, we just locate one or two information. All right, okay. Please, any question on skimming and scanning? Christopher, your hand is up.
Madam,
Yes.
at this note, we learn about skimming is a faster or speed way of reading to
Okay.
get an overview of the text, and
Okay.
scanning is also a faster way of reading to locate a
Locate
particular or specific information.
information. Okay.
So when you are reading from the beginning up to the end, so is
Mm.
there any particular or specific name for that one?
Oh, we will get
When
to
we
that
are
one.
reading the whole.
That is the next one.
Oh, okay,
That is
okay,
a
madam.
close reading. So we get to that one. But
Oh, okay,
please
thank you.
mind you, skimming, you can skim by reading the entire passage to get the idea. But you don't focus on words or phrases. You focus on what it's about. And it is very fast. Sometimes when you skim, you even forget a word in the passage because you didn't pay attention to those words. Okay. Please, any question again? Any question? Godwin, your hand is up.
Please, madam, I want to ask,
Yes, it-
is skimming,
mm.
is skimming a reading weakness or a cognitive skill? Depending on
You
how
said
and when it
it's
is used.
skimming a what?
A reading weakness or a cognitive skill, depending on how and when it is used.
You even have answer to it. So skimming becomes a weakness when it is not necessary in what you want to do. For example, but it is a reading technique. That one there you should know. But when you are supposed to get detailed information and you decide to just skim, then it is not necessary. So you remember before we started the whole class, I told you today that it is important to know the type of text you are reading and the kind of information you want. That will determine the appropriate reading style for you. Okay, so if you use skimming to read a passage where you have to get detailed information, then you are using it wrongly. You understand?
Yes, please. Yes, madam.
So it depends on you, the reader, what you want, and the text you are reading. Okay. Please, if you have been asked it last year, let's hear you. Or it's a mistake. Is it even here? I think it's a mistake. Okay. Please, should we move on?
Yes, madam.
Yes,
Should we
madam.
move on, please?
Yes,
All
madam.
right. So the one that came and asked us to go back. Are you okay? Please,
Madam.
are you okay?
Yes, I'm okay,
Okay,
madam.
but please, all right. Please, next time, we do not have much time. So please, when it's time, join the class, okay? So that you will
Yes,
not have to
madam.
go back. All right.
Yes,
Thank
madam.
you.
Thank you,
Now
madam.
let's move to the last way or the last technique of reading. Okay. We've already talked about skimming and scanning. Okay. Now there is this thing that we call close reading. When something is close, what does it mean? Mm-hmm. When we say you before, okay, I know I've projected it, but it's fine. But when we say close reading, what does it mean? Close. So you can try to see to look at close and then reading. Mm-hmm.
Madam, close reading is more like reading from word to word.
Okay, thank you. But please, next time raise your hand first, okay?
All right, madam. Thank you.
Please. You're welcome. Evelyn, please, let's hear you.
Please, madam, to my understanding, close reading is reading word to word without skipping anything, capturing every
Okay.
details in the passage.
Very good. Thank you. Gifty, let's hear you. Gifty, let's hear you, please.
Oh, okay, madam. I think
Mm.
the close reading, it's about you taking your time and looking at everything in the passage.
Okay, that's good. Harriet.
Okay,
Harriet,
madam.
please. All right.
Close reading is taking your time, reading slowly, then
Okay.
to understand every word and meaning of the
All right.
passage.
Okay. Okay. Thank you all. Okay, Godwin. Godwin, let's hear you.
Close reading for me is reading with full attention and zero shortcuts.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. Thank you so much. I think you've summarized everything that we have to do. So when we look at close reading, it is not a speed reading, as we know about skimming and scanning. So the two, so we already know close reading and then skimming and scanning. So close reading, they are not speed reading, as we know about skimming and scanning. So for this one, it involves slow, careful reading. Let me repeat. It involves slow, careful, so slow, careful reading to understand both the surface meaning and the deeper meaning. So when we engage in close reading, we want to examine the text carefully. We want to pay attention to every details of the passage. Okay. And by paying attention, we are looking at the spelling, we are looking at the meaning of the words, we are looking at the sentence structure. So why did she say what a disgrace and not it is very disgraceful? We are looking at the sentence structure. We are looking at punctuation. We are looking at capitalization. Okay. So when you want to engage in close reading, you want to take your time to digest every information in the text. So when we are doing that, we are paying attention to word choice. Why did she say depart and not say go? Why did she say begin and not say commence? You are looking at the word choice. You are looking at the sentence structure, the arrangement of the words, the arrangement of the words. You are looking at the meaning of certain words. You are also looking at the punctuations and then capitalizations. So this is what we call close reading. This is what a lot of us need, okay, because mostly we don't take our time to digest everything, okay. So this is what close reading is. Any question on close reading? Please, any question on close reading? Should we move on?
Yes, madam.
All
Yes,
right.
madam.
So under close reading, we have two types, the extensive and then intensive. Okay, extensive and intensive. For when we hear of extensive, we are looking at outside. Outside what you are needed. More than that. So extensive reading, we read wide with the purpose of getting information to enrich our personal knowledge. For example, I deal with English communication, right? And if I want to look at something related to law, if I buy a book about law and I want to know my rights as a citizen, I am reading wide, and this is what we call extensive reading. When we deal in extensive reading, mostly the texts we use are not within our field. Okay, they are not within our field. So you are reading environmental words. Please remind me. Sorry. What is your course again?
Environmental degradation.
No, I mean, what is your program? Your program of study?
SBCM.
Social behavior and conflict management.
Okay, so you are looking at social behavior and conflict management. Okay, so we already have that program in mind. This is what we are reading. But all of a sudden, you wake up and you have a novel. You have a novel that you feel like reading. You have a book about life that you want to read. This is an extensive reading because you want to gain wide knowledge, or you want to get information to enrich your personal knowledge. It's like what you know. So an example is here. You have an art student, you're a general art student, and you see them reading about agric, something related to agric science. So this is what we call extensive. You want to add up to knowledge, to the knowledge you already have. Sometimes we do this. We read some tests that are not related to our field because we want to know not just our field, but beyond our field. Okay. Now let's look at one important thing under extensive reading. When we read extensively, we do not really look at a lot, like for our notes that we read for examination, because one, it's just there to give us new words, give us new ideas. Okay, so you don't read it as much as you read your notes or your books that are related to your field. Okay, sometimes too, when we read extensively, it feels like we are reading skimming and scanning. We are doing skimming and scanning because they are not even in our field. Okay, but the important thing is that when we deal in extensive reading, we are looking at certain information that are not related to our field of study with the purpose of enriching or gaining more information or more knowledge. Okay, now let's look at this. So sometimes these are the materials that we read when we are dealing with extensive reading. We can look at novels, we can read newspapers, we can read magazines. Okay, then the purpose of extensive reading is to, one, improve our vocabulary. We want to read and get a lot of words when we are speaking. So we do extensive reading. Another one is we want to build our reading fluency. So you want to be so fluent in the sense that when you are communicating, you know what to say, and then to keep the conversation going, we engage in extensive reading. And then lastly, we want to develop background knowledge. We want to get knowledge about a lot of things. So when we are conversing about law, you have something to say. When we are talking about science, you have something to say. So these are the main purpose the main purpose why we engage in extensive reading. Now let's go to the next type. So you see the passage here, it's about blood pressure. So this is related to health, science, that field. So me as a general arts background, with a general arts background, these things, I can see they are not really important, but I want to know more about other fields so that when we are discussing high blood pressure, I will know what to say. So this is what extensive reading is. Okay, now let's look at intensive reading. You already know that the opposite of extensive is intensive. Okay, and I told you extensive, we are looking at outside your field. Intensive, who can tell me something about intensive? When we say intensive reading, what comes into your head? Yes, intensive reading. Okay, let's hear. Okay, Evelyn, let's hear you.
Please, madam, I think intensive reading is when you read exactly what is in your field.
Okay. Very good. Who else? Matthias, let's hear you. Oh, it's a mistake, right? All right. Let's continue. So just
I
as
said, I
okay.
said intensive meaning means you're focusing on something. Your main thing, you're focusing on what you're actually doing.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So just as we looked at extensive reading and we know the opposite is intensive reading, here it is for an academic or professional purpose. Okay. Extensive reading, you are not focused on what you want to do. It's outside your field. You just want to gain more knowledge in other field. But for intensive reading, it is within your field. So please mute your microphone, please. Okay, thank you. So when we look at intensive reading, we are talking about that kind of close reading that is undertaken for academic or professional work. So you are a teacher, you are a nurse, you want to read about high blood pressure. So for the passage that was here, if a nurse is reading this or a doctor is reading this, we call it intensive because it is within the doctor's or the nurse's field. But if a teacher is reading about this, you can say it is extensive because it is outside. Okay. So for intensive reading, you already know it is for academic or professional purpose. Okay. So for intensive reading too, we do it for examination, or since we are teachers or someone who want to teach, we want to get information for our students. Okay. If another day you wake up and you want to go through the teaching techniques, it is related to your professional work. So it is intensive reading. But if I am a nurse, I am a mother and a nurse, and I want to teach my daughter, in the house after school. And I feel like let me go online and check the reading techniques that can be used in reading. I am doing extensive because I'm a nurse. But for intensive reading, it is for academic purpose. It is in your field. It is in your line of work. It is in your line of study. Okay. So when we compare extensive and intensive reading, we can say that intensive reading requires more concentration because you are reading for exams, you are reading for professional work, so you have to concentrate more. Okay, that is all about intensive reading. One, it is for academic or professional purpose. And um two, when we read intensively, we focus on those things that are relevant in your field. Okay, so this is what intensive reading is. And intensive reading is common in academic study. We've talked about this. It is in line with our academics. So it is common in our academic study. It is common in examinations. Okay, especially when you're writing exams, you have to read intensively. Okay. Now let's move on. There is a passage here which talks about utterances and then public. Hello. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, madam, we
Yes,
can hear
madam, we
you.
can hear you.
All right. So it is common in our academic study. I've talked about it. It is common in examinations. Okay. And when we are doing intensive reading, we are focusing on everything since it is under close reading. But for extensive reading, it doesn't matter that much because you want to get just additional information. But for intensive reading, you want to get everything because it is for examination purpose, it is for professional purpose. Okay. That's all. So you can see there is this essay here at your free time. Please go through. I'll be glad if you go through and then give me feedback. Okay. Now we are done with section 2. We looked at the third technique or the third way of reading, that is the close reading, where we pay attention to a word. We read with the idea of getting understanding. Okay. Then under the close reading, we looked at extensive and intensive. Extensive, reading outside your field to get additional knowledge, to broaden your vocabulary. Okay. Then intensive reading, reading within your field for professional or academic purpose. Okay. So different ways of reading. There is an example here, so you can go through. Okay. Any question? Any question on close reading? Any question on close reading? Okay, Frank, let's hear you, please.
Madam, please, my
Frank,
question
let's
is,
hear you.
yes, madam. Please, my question is, the material, some of the materials that we read closely, please.
Please, I can't hear you.
My question was, some of the materials that we read closely. Yes, madam. The materials that we read
Pardon?
closely. Some of the materials. Yes.
So you want to know the materials that we read closely?
Closely, yes.
Pardon?
Please, yes, please.
Okay, so it can be a textbook for our course, our reading materials for our course, because when we take intensive, we are looking at academic purpose. So for our textbook, our reading materials, our past questions, even past questions, when we want to read and go through them one by one, we are dealing with close reading. But for extensive reading, we can read articles that are not in our field. We can read newspapers. We can read magazines. Okay. Please, is that okay?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
All right. If there are no questions, I think we should move on because we do not have time. Now let's go to another one. Reading for comprehension. We already know reading. Okay. Comprehension means understanding. So that is why sometimes we say reading and comprehension, because we read, we comprehend. We read, we understand. Okay. Now, so this whole section, we are going to look at the steps or the ways that we can use to enhance our comprehension. Okay, so we will look at the strategies that can be used in determining meaning of words in context, and also we also look at how you can answer comprehension questions based on a passage. All right, so this is what we do. Now let's look at using context to get meaning. When we talk about context, we are looking at a particular situation or a surrounding in which an utterance or a word is being said. For example, let me give you this example. So when I am angry, okay, let's focus on the word Kali that we know. When you are angry, the context is anger. You are angry, or what happened is anger, or somebody has provoked you, and you say Charlie, 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 Charlie. So in this context, when we look at Charlie, maybe the word, the meaning will be different, but the context, the situation in which that Charlie was said, will determine the meaning of Charlie. But when I'm disappointed and someone asks me and I say, oh, Charlie, you can see that this Charlie, in the context, in what was happening, in the surrounding words, will have a different meaning. Okay. Another context, maybe when we are happy, say Charlie. So you can see that for reading and comprehension, the context is important. What happened before that utterance was made? What are the words that was said before the action occurs. Okay, so this is what we know when we talk about context, using context. So for you to get the meaning of words, you have to look at the surrounding words. Okay, what happened? Please, is that okay?
Yes,
Is that
madam.
okay?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
So the context is important. That is how come if I say present, you know, present and present, the spelling is the same, but their meaning, one is a noun, one is a verb. So when you are reading and there is the word present, it can be a noun or a verb based on the surrounding words, based on what the person was saying. Okay. For example, if I say give the present to her, if you pick only present, you might decide to pronounce it as present and then get it wrong. But when you want to read the surrounding words or the whole introduction or the whole paragraph that brought about present, it means that you want to read using the context, using the situation in which the utterance or the word was used. Okay. So when we read using context, one, we are looking at surrounding words. Okay. Two, we are looking at the sentences. So if the word is like here, maybe if I am looking at learn, I'm looking at learn here. If I pick learn in isolation to look for the meaning or to understand the meaning of word, maybe it is different because I need to read the sentence starting from let us study some strategies that will help us learn new words. So if I focus on the sentence, I might get the meaning. Okay. Another way that we can get meaning using context is when we read the overall passage sense. When we read the entire paragraph, the entire passage, that one is the context that we need. Okay. Now, reading using context to get meaning is so important because one, it reduces over dependence on dictionary. So when you are reading, it is very bad to read and you've opened your dictionary and then every time you are checking. Okay. So sometimes when we are reading, we may come across words that are unfamiliar, words that we've not seen, or words that we have heard, but we do not know the exact meaning. Sometimes there will not be any dictionary for you to get the meaning. So the important thing is you read using context. For example, in fact, the words that precede and follow the unfamiliar word. So when you want to look at the meaning of precede, you might have to read everything in order to get the meaning of that particular word. Please, is that okay? Do you understand using context to get meaning before we move to the next one?
Yes, madam.
All right, let's continue. Now, let's look at the steps that you should follow when you want to read using context, using the situation, using the surrounding words. The first thing you should do is that use the general sense of the passage along with your existing knowledge of what is being described to infer meaning. So, for example, I've talked about present and present. So my general knowledge that I have is present, a gift. Present, a gift, then present, or being around. Okay, so I have this being around or being around at the time of the meeting, and also a gift for someone, right? So these are the existing knowledge I have, but I have to compare the existing knowledge I have to the passage. So I know of two meanings of present and present, or the word present. I have two meanings, but the meaning, the existing knowledge I have is in my head. I will compare it with the text and the whole line, the whole sentence, to see whether they are the same or not. That is the first steps you have to follow. Another thing that you have to do is to look for a synonym or restated definition of the unfamiliar word. So the word is not familiar, you don't know. Try and see whether you can get a synonym for the word, or you look for the definition of a word. The third one, look for examples in the passage that may help to determine the meaning of the unfamiliar word. For example, the focus is on present. I don't want to mention because for now, let's take it as we don't know whether it's a noun or a verb. Okay. Now, the clue that I have to use in identify will be the word. For example, if the passage goes like this, they gave the present to Kofi. Okay, so the underlined word is present. They gave the present to Kofi. For a moment, he was shocked because he didn't know whether to accept the present or not. So based on the other clues, we know it is a gift because we don't accept it if it is a verb, because it is a name of a word. Okay, it is a name of a thing. It is a gift. So here you have to look for those examples or those words in the passage that will help you to identify the meaning. The fourth steps that you should follow is to see whether that unfamiliar word, the word that you do not know, is compared or contrasted with a familiar word or idea. For example, if there is this word good, if good is a word that you are not familiar with, and there is this passage, being a good girl comes, no, please, being a good boy comes with a price. The individual must determine whether must determine whether the society agrees with his behavior or not. Bad boys are what the society hates. So here you can see that the unfamiliar word is good and it has been contrasted with bad. Okay, so you have to look at this and see. So these are the steps that will help you in identifying the meaning of a word that you are not familiar with. Okay. All right. Now there is a passage here. It has been answered already. So you can see that when you are reading this, you know you should have something there. The knowledge you should have should be about farming. Okay. So with farming, we know there is irrigation, there is arid, there is ingenious, and then so these are the words you should follow. So if you are looking at flourish and barren, these are the opposite words we are talking about. So these two methods allow us to flourish in areas that would otherwise be barren. So you know that these words have been contrasted. So to grow or to what? Not grow or something like that. Okay. Now we will look at this in the subsequent topics. Okay. Now, before we will understand a word, the first thing we should do is that we should divide them into their parts, and we will get information from them. For example, if you have, so for getting meaning from word parts, we are looking at understanding the meaning of words by breaking them into their parts. Okay, so we already know the root word. So if I have this like strong is the root word. If I have stronger, for me to understand, I will decide to break them into two, strong and er. Okay, look at the er. Okay, we already know it is the comparative form. Okay, it means we are comparing two or more things. That is what we are talking about. So you break them into two or three parts, and then you try to dissect the meaning of the other parts. Then you bring them together. So there is an example here where we have, let me highlight this. Please, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
Madam.
All right. Okay. So, for example, if you have a word, I'll highlight this for you to see. If you have example like magnify or magnitude, the first thing you have to do is to break them into two. We have root word. Root word means that is the basic form of the word. Nothing has been added to it. So you have to first look at roots like mag, which means something that is great or grand or large. And with this one, you can, by breaking them into two or three, you can identify or you can understand the meaning of a word. Okay. So there are examples here when we have, there are some words that are Latin, and with this they have their meaning. For example, aging, age, that is the Latin root word, which means to act, and the meaning is to lead, to do, to drive. So when we say agent, you know this person is leading. Okay. So when you break them into two like this, it might help you to understand. But you know, breaking them into two, because we do not know a lot of Latin roots, we don't know root words that are Latin. Okay. So it might not be helpful when you are writing exams. But when you want to just go through words and understand, I think this part is okay. All right. Now let's look at, these are also Greek words, okay? Greek words. So cycle and the rest, they are root words. So when you group them based on what constitutes the word, we can get the meaning. One important thing that is helpful, especially for examination sake, is when we use prefix and then suffix. Okay, we already know prefix and suffixes are under affix, where we are looking at part of a word. They are added to words in order to gain more understanding. So for prefix, pre means before, so it comes before the word, and then suffix comes after the word. So you can understand something by looking at the prefix and the suffix. For example, when you have a word, a suffix like a prefix like miss, M-I-S, what does it mean? When you have a prefix like M-I-S, what does it mean? Who can tell me the meaning of M-I-S alone, miss? What does it suggest? If a word begins with miss, what does it suggest? Frank, let's hear you, please.
To join, madam, to join.
No, I'm saying M-I-S, not X. M-I-S. Okay. Beatrice, let's hear you. Beatrice. Beatrice, can you hear me, please? Okay, let's hear from Boating.
Madam, to my understanding, miss means unsuccessful.
Okay, okay, very good. Mante, your hand is up.
Yes, madam, it has to do with confusion or lost.
Pardon?
Confusion or lost.
Okay, okay. Let's hear from Evelyn.
Please, madam, it can also mean incorrect.
Incorrect. Okay. So we already know that. Thank you all. Thank you very much. We already know that the surface miss can be something that is negative. So mismanagement, misinformation. So when you have something like this, it means that, please mute your microphone for me, please. Okay. Mante, is your hand up again? Or it's a mistake?
No, madam, please, I've answered already.
Okay, all right, thank you. So when you have a word prefix like miss, the focus is on something negative. Okay, so when you want to understand mismanagement, First of all, you have broken them into three. Mismanagement. So there is a preface, there is the root word manage, and there is a suffix meant. So you, by breaking them, you know the first thing is miss, which is something negative. Okay, not organizing something well. The manage means organizing something. The meant means it's a noun. Okay, so a noun, which so it's, you can, by dividing them into this part, you can say that okay, so it is a term for not organizing something or something that has been done inappropriately. Okay, so this is from the basic understanding you get when you want to divide them, okay, into prefaces and then affixes. Okay. Now, if we have something like, there's an example here when we have residentially. So you can break them into residents or reside. Then there is ENT. So when you do something like this, it means that you can understand even without a dictionary. Okay. Now there's an example, last example. Con. Con means what? Together. Con means together. So if you know what con means, the next time there is a word that begins with the prefix con, conjunction, it means that you want to join something. So everybody knows conjunction means those words that are used to join other words. Okay. So that is what you have to do when you want to understand the meaning of what words. Okay. We've talked about two. The major part is when we want to gain the meaning from word parts. You can look at the root word. Is it a Latin word? Is it a Greek word? What does it mean? Then another one is prefixes and suffixes. Okay. Now let's look at a passage for. So there is a passage here. You can do it at your own free time. Okay. Or should I give the passage to you as an assignment? Should I give the passage to you as an assignment?
Madam, perhaps. So that we can try our hands on
Perhaps. This or perhaps here.
it. You won't buy
Okay. So I will not make it official assignment, but you can go through at your free time. I'm around, so anytime you want something, or you've done it, or you can just let me know. Okay. Now let's move to, so the whole thing about this section is that one, we looked at comprehension, and we know that to comprehend means to understand. So reading for comprehension means reading for understanding. And we know that when there are words that we are unfamiliar or we do not know, and we do not want to use dictionary, we can first of all read within context. That is the surrounding situations that brought about the word or the sentences or the overall passage, the meaning of it can help us to understand a word. Then also to understand a particular word, the meaning of a word, we can break them into parts. So looking at those words from other field, from other languages, the Latin, the Greek, to look at the meaning of it. And this one, I told you, it is important when it is effective when you are reading alone, but for exam's sake, prefixes and suffixes are important because for them, if you know the meaning of a part, you can infer and then get the entire meaning of the whole word. So this is what we've done in section 3. Now let's go to the 4th section. We are looking at developing faster reading. Sometimes when people read, you know, for those of us who have taught before, reading in class like class 4 and class 5 is tiring. Dear students, you are welcome to section 4. In section 3, You know, I don't know for you guys, but for me, it is tiring. But that is how they read, and they are kids. But for us as adults, sometimes we do not have time. Sometimes we are writing exams, there is a passage, there is an essay, and we are writing all these within 2 hours. So we need to learn how to read faster so that we will not be hot or we will not be in trouble when we are writing exams. Okay. Now, so this whole passage, this whole section, we are looking at some reading faults. Okay, some faults that occur when we read. So there is vocalization and sub-vocalization. We look at pointing of words, fixation, and then regression. Okay, then also we will also practice reading by avoiding these reading faults that we will discuss, and then how we can improve upon our speed reading. So this is what the section is about. So there is speed reading test here. You can read. When you read, you time yourself. How many minutes did I use in reading? How many hours? How many seconds? Okay. So this is for your own thing when you are at your free time. So you can read and rate your speed level. Am I a fast reader? Am I an average reader or a slow reader? I know reading, when we talk about fast reading, some people will read and they will be like, let me go back to the first one. Dear student, yeah. What kind of not where we don't spend hours reading a page. Okay. Now let's go to some negative reading habits. Okay. The first one is what we call vocalization. So we have vocalization, some vocalization, sub-vocalization, and then pointing. Okay. Vocalization, sub-vocalization, and pointing. Now, when we are reading, for vocalization and sub-vocalization, we pronounce words on the lips or using a pointer to pick out words. So when you are reading, you are pronouncing some words and then using a pointer to pick out those words. So there are signs of reading word for word. We know we want to read fast. We know we want to understand the entire passage. But reading word for word makes you slow when you are reading. Reading word for word. It doesn't mean that when you are reading, but some people, when they are reading, for something like they say vocalization and sub, they want to be apt in pronouncing everything. Okay. So some people, they want to impress us. So when they are reading, they want to read those words out for everybody to know that, okay, this person is. So vocalization is when you are reading aloud. So even in your head, you are reading in your head, you are reading aloud. Okay. Now let's go to the next one, which is fixation or fixity gaze. Okay. So fixation and fixity gaze, when you gaze, it means you are watching. Okay. So some people, when they are reading, they fix their eye on a word at a time. So they are looking at it, they are not moving their eyes fast to get the next word, but they are fixed on a particular word. So when you are fixed on a particular word, it makes reading very slow, because when you are reading, you don't take your time. When you are reading, you take your time to look at a particular word. So this is what we call fixation or fixity gaze. So when you are fixed on something, it means that you pay attention to a particular word to the extent that you know, when we are reading, we read with our eyes. So your eyes do not move. They are at one place. Okay. Now let's go to, so to be able to read faster, it is like you are sweeping, but you are sweeping with your eyes. That is what we call fixation. You fix your eye on something that you do not move to the next part. Okay. Let's go to the fourth reading fault, which we call regression. So for regression, you go back to something you have read. So let me give you an example. I am still going to read the introduction. Dear students, you are welcome. You are welcome to section 4. In section 3, we studied comprehension. We studied comprehension. So you can see that I am reading, but I go back to the already mentioned word, the already mentioned phrase. This is what we call regression. Okay, you are reading, but you go back to something that you have already pronounced. And sometimes it's because we do not pronounce certain words correctly and we want to reread it. But when you reread something that you just read, it means that it is a reading fault called regression. Okay, so when you are reading and you go back to something you've already read, we call that regression. Okay, but for regression, sometimes it is okay because there are some words you do not get or you do not understand or you didn't pronounce it well, so you may go back. But when it is occurring a lot, so you are reading a paragraph and within the paragraph you've repeated words like 4 or 5 times, then it becomes a reading fault. Okay, it becomes a reading fault, and this reading fault will hinder understanding. All right, so let me go back and discuss the reading fault we talked about. We have vocalization, and for vocalization, it is a poor reading habit because whilst you are reading, you are pronouncing some words in your head. So you are reading, but in your head, you are pronouncing some words. So we have the vocalization when you are reading aloud, you are pronouncing some words. But for self-vocalization, so silently, you are saying the words you are reading in your head. I don't know whether it has happened to you, but when we read and in our head, though we are reading aloud, but in our head, we are still pronouncing those words. It makes our attention very, very disturbed because we do not get attention, because in our mind we are reading, on our lips we are reading. Okay, another one that we talked about is fixation or fixity gaze, when your eyes are fixed on a word. When we are reading, our eyes are also engaged. We move our eyes from one word to another, from one sentence to another. But in a situation where your eyes are fixed on a particular word or particular phrase, it is a reading fault. The last one is regression. You read and reread. You read, you repeat. It is a regression. And these are reading faults because in our case of improving how fast we read, it hinders us. It becomes an issue. Okay. Now, let's move to faster reading. Okay. One thing that we should know is that in reading fast, it is never ending. You don't read fast and you pause. Okay. And so because of that, there is always something that is pushing us to read fast. But you should know that when you read at a constant speed, it is not good, because they are not the same. Remember the example I show you. We must note that faster reading is never no. So we read faster, but at a pace that our brain is also working. Okay. Some tests, they have words that are so heavy for, they are big. We are unfamiliar with the words. And because of that, when you read fast, it makes it difficult to understand. Okay. So when you're a good reader, you know when to read fast when to read slow, when to pronounce a word you've already pronounced. Okay, so for us to read faster, this is what we have to do. One, we have to increase our eye span. To avoid fixing on words, we have to read with our eyes. So you move with your eyes to the next sentence as you read. We also have to concentrate. It is important. When you are reading and you have divided attention, you cannot read well. Okay. The last thing that we have to do is to avoid unnecessary pauses. Some of us, when we are reading, we pause a lot. You know, what I'm doing right now is rapid speech. Rapid speech in the sense that I am saying things in my head, okay? So that one, pauses are okay. But in a situation where a passage is before you and you are reading, you have to avoid unnecessary pauses, okay? So when we read this, we do all this, it means that we are reading. And we shouldn't forget that speed reading shouldn't be the reason why we won't understand. That is why I said it is okay to read fast, but it should be at a pace where our brain is also following, in the sense that we get the understanding. The main goal of faster reading is to read efficiently, understand words, but not careless reading, as in you are reading everything fast because they said we should read fast. Okay, there is a passage here at your free time. Okay. Now, we have looked at certain reading faults. So, any question on that before we move to the next section? Any question on that? Any question on the reading faults? Any question on that? Please, can you hear me?
Yes, madam.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
madam.
On that. All right, okay. So now we are 6 minutes to time. So we are left with 2 sections, and tomorrow morning, we will meet and then finish with that. But before we end our class, any question for what we've done so far? Do you have any question? We started with reading. Okay, Matthias, let's hear you, please. Matthias, your hand is up. Is it
Yes, madam, but today, yeah, the lesson was good, but it's like today you are skipping, and this skip, like you are fast.
I think I'm fast because, you know, when we finished with the first section, we had to go back and talk about skimming. But you see, tomorrow, since we have an hour for the 2 sections, I'll also try to go back a bit, but it will also be fast so that we would understand everything. So sorry for that. Okay. Any question? Is there any question? Okay. Okay, let's hear
Madam.
you.
Madam, please, with the prefix, I'm not that clear with that one. I don't know if you can highlight that one.
The meaning of prefix.
Yes, that.
Okay. So for prefixes, they belong to the word group or the part of speech called affix. Okay? And for those things, they are not words, they cannot function on their own. They are mostly attached to a main word. And pre means before. So prefixes are mostly attached to it comes before a main word. For example, if I have unconditional. So the UN is a prefix because it comes before the main word conditional or condition. Okay. So we talked about prefix in reading because we want to know the meaning of words. And we said that it is important to break the words into groups. So a word that has a prefix, you have to divide them, try to get the understanding of a prefix, and then you understand the main word, you bring them together and you have your words. For example, if I have a word like irregular, the main word is regular. Okay, the main word is regular. So I will look at the prefix, and then understand what does for example, miss. If I have miss, what does it mean? The prefix is the MIS. So I have to understand what it means before I understand what the main word is. Then I bring them together to get the general understanding. Please, are you okay with it?
Yes, madam, I'm clear with that.
Okay, okay.
Thank you very much.
So let's take, pardon?
But I said I'm clear with it, so thank you very much.
Okay. Oh, you're welcome. Please, let's take the last question or last two questions. Then, if there are no, okay, let's hear from Evelyn.
Please, madam, can I classify the word anti as a prefix?
Yes. Anti-inflammation. So it comes before inflammation. Okay. So that is it. It comes before. So it is a prefix. Okay. Now, any other question? Any other question? Okay. So for those of us who, okay, let's hear from my friend.
Yes, madam, please. My question is, what could make one refer as regression in the list you mentioned earlier? What could make one go back as reference?
Okay. So I said that what makes us engage in regression is, one, maybe whilst we were reading, we couldn't pronounce a particular word well. So we decide to go back and pronounce. Okay. So this is what will make us engage in a reading fault called regression. So you are reading, you couldn't pronounce comprehension. So because you couldn't pronounce, you went back to pronounce it. So that is regression. And I told you, regression, sometimes it's not bad because we do not have, some words are so big that we would not understand. And we have to go back and read. But if you are reading a passage and in that passage you've gone back to read words for 10 or 5 times or 15 times, then it becomes a reading fault. Is that okay? Please, is that okay?
Yes, madam, I'm okay with that.
Please, are you okay with it? Now it's fine. So this is what we do. If you have any other question, you can write them down. Then tomorrow, God willing, you ask, okay?
All right.
All right. Thank you all. Nice meeting you. I enjoyed your class. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy when you still in a sure.
So, Mr. Lewis.
Nice to.
Yes, sir. I beg you. Sir, when you to me recordings, be mommy, and I said to me I can recordings.
Yeah, sure. Nah, but let's try and in
for
fact,
instance,
will use PCB here, but maybe the machine will notify me that or a record, but who will be our output in the world?
I could
me follow.
I said that